at ohmTown. My name is Mayor Watt. Hello. I'm looking at one of my screens. If you see me look up, it's because I see a screen right there that's letting me know that everything's streaming along fine. Again, my name is Mayor Watt. I'm the owner of that site right there. It's better if I do it that way, up there. So let me scroll up so you can see the top of the page. I run that site. I stream here on Twitch. I post everything over to YouTube, and the podcast I set up and there were problems, so I'm rebuilding it. But I've basically got about 50 days worth of show coming to the podcast. I'll be playing cleanup with that, and all of the links and all of that kind of stuff that we talk about each episode will be listed there. But quick rundown how this all works. ohmTown is a community that I'm starting to build. I hope that you go over to it, ohmTown.com, and sign up, become a citizen. You start earning points right away. Those points will hopefully eventually be used in different ways, either in the stream or to get merchandise, or to kind of go up the ladder, so to speak, because I want to have competitions. But there's plans. I'm a one-person shop, and so I do everything. And I hope that you kind of get a kick out of all of this. What I do on the daily is at 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock Eastern, I do a show where I go over about 20 news articles that my aggregator goes out and gets and funnels into 6 categories: create, news, education, entertainment, social, and technology. Again, I keep thinking maybe I'll change create to creator or to maker. But there is an organization called Maker and a company called Maker, and I don't really want to tread on that name. It's their goodwill. So me being business centric, I tend to not want to encroach on somebody else's efforts. That said, let's get into this show. The very first article is thrown into the Word and Tech channel. Again, each of these channels that I talk about are shows that I actually want to launch. And if you are interested in co-hosting and sitting up there, or we can flip and I'll put you down here where I am and I'll be up there. It's really up to you. I'm pretty flexible about these things. We'll talk about the news together, and maybe you'll have a different perspective than I do, and we can have a discussion. But I'm not really pushing hard for that. So if you are interested, then get in touch with me. You can throw it in chat and say, "Hey, I'm interested," and then maybe we can chat via Zoom or email or what have you, and talk about the specifics of it. This very first article that was aggregated into ohmTown and thrown into the Word and Tech channel has to do with, hey, Twitch. It says Twitch creates new program to pay streamers more reliably. The Ad Incentive Program, or AIP, is a new program that will pay select streamers a guaranteed monthly minimum amount of ad revenue. Qualified affiliate or partner streamers will receive a notification from Twitch, offering them different payouts based on the amount of ad runs per hour and total hours streamed. They go into more specifics here, but let's click over to the source. This is an article that was written by Ash Parrish, and it's for The Verge. Got a pretty neat graphic, purple and blue and pink geometric with a white Twitch. If you're in the podcast side of things, then you're not seeing any of this. That's why I describe it. But if you're at YouTube or on Twitch, you'll see it on Twitch for 14 days if you go over to the VOD and watch it. Otherwise, it's going to be over on YouTube. Eventually it'll be the next day. But right now I'm playing catch up. Doing some editing and then throwing it onto YouTube. I think I'm at about a month right now. So I've got another 20 days or so to catch up. So Ash Parrish writes this article and talks about what the incentives are and what the payouts are, and goes into greater detail. But I want you to go over to The Verge and read more into it. Come on back and talk to me about it tomorrow or later in this hour. If you are so quick, you can actually click the link, read the article, come on back and storm back into my chat and let me know what you think of all of this. I think anything that stabilizes revenue would be a good thing for a multitude of streamer. Some people just want the stability of a paycheck, and streaming on your own has its ups and downs, and sometimes those downs can run a long time, particularly if you aren't running a show every single day. Let's go on to the next article. This next article is over in Smack Talk. That's because in some way it has to do with Apple, either because of the source that it comes from or the hardware and software that it's talking about. But this is a daily deals thing, and it typically comes from Apple Insider is where I aggregate from. But it has an Alienware 38-inch curved gaming monitor for $1,200. Let's round up. Now, not everybody is in the mood for a 38-inch curved gaming monitor. It's a lot of desk space taken up. But for me, I've got 4 1/5 27-inch sitting here. I would probably benefit from a 38-inch monitor simply because I can get rid of other stuff and open multiple pages on one screen. That said, having individual monitors is also pretty good because then I can throw stuff specifically onto a monitor and not have to worry about one bleeding over to the other or things going a little funky when you go full screen or windowed full screen. It gets really bad when it's windowed full screen. This article is over on appleinsider.com and it's written by Brittany Vincent. They go into more details about what all of these sales are, but if you're on the prowl for an NVMe SSD, a 2 terabyte for $218 at Amazon is pretty amazing. So be on the lookout for that. You can go over to Apple Insider or you can click the link. Again, the link will be on the VOD description. It'll be in the chat. So you'll be able to watch the VOD and click on the link. And there's a bunch of others in there. RoboVac, an iPad mini for a 2021 iPad mini for $500, less than $500, $474 if you want to be specific. And technically precise is the best kind of precise. A Breville Smooth Wave Countertop Microwave Oven for $289.17. That 17 cents is over my budget, so. But we could all use a backup microwave oven. I actually had one completely blow up. I mean, not really blow up. It started smoking right there on my counter. And I had it for, I don't know how many years, like 10 years. The thing was a juggernaut, I thought. It was just cooking away. But I cooked something for 15 minutes in a microwave. And then the next time I used it, I guess it just said, nah, sorry, buddy. It's just not going to work. It's not you, it's me. And I had to carry it smoking out onto my patio. This next article is in the Word and Tech channel. Likelihood of extreme autumn fire weather has increased by 40%. This has to do with the United States, California, and Western Oregon. And it's being blamed on human-caused climate change based and on computer models. But let's click that link and take you over to the site, viz.org, and Steve Lundberg from Oregon State University, who wrote the article, and talks about the study. The study led by Oregon State University Linnea Hawkins, which covered 2017-2018, looked at the role climate change may have played in extreme fire weather conditions. in collaboration included David Rupp of the Oregon Climate Change Research Institute examined the weather conditions during big fires driven by strong offshore winds. And if you've never seen this, you should probably go and look at it. Just go to YouTube and do a search for something like firefighters and swift moving forest fires, something like that. And it is incredibly amazing how fast a fire can rip through a forest. You'd think, oh, those trees would slow it down or something, right? But that's not how it works. It basically acts like a giant fireplace and just rolls through so fast. People trying to drive out of there, there's by the time you think that you're going to get past it, you're already engulfed in it and you can't see anything. And if you're driving a car, your windows get blacked out by all of the soot. It's quite scary if you've never experienced it. And I've only experienced watching it. I've gone to actual fires to take photographs and stuff like that when I was younger, but never inside a forest fire, which it's fascinating to watch, but dangerous to be in. So kudos to firefighters. And go over to phys.org and click on that link that's in my chat, and you can read more about it on your own. But human-caused climate change is going to continue. We haven't learned how to stop it, really. Not still maintaining our quality of life. The next article is microparticles show ability to turn and reverse, paving the way for microfluidic devices. So this article's a little snippet that was thrown into the Word in Tech. It says, like middle school students, microparticles are not the world's most graceful dancers. For many of them, it's one step forward, one step back. Let's click this link. It'll take us over to phys.org, and Jared Sagoff of Argonne National Laboratory. I don't know where my brain went, but I started to say Aragon. In a new study from the U.S. Department of Energy, Argonne National Laboratory, researchers have identified how a self-organized vortex of rotating microparticles in a fluid will reverse direction when an electric stimulus is interrupted and then reapplied with the same orientation, providing fundamental insights into mechanisms behind the sudden switch in rotation. The research offers potential inspiration for pumps in micro-sized channels called microfluidic pumps that allow the controlled flow of liquids. Such pumps allow precise fluid delivery for Wow, I was steaming right along just fine. Precise fluid delivery for biomedical, chemical, and electronics applications. So where do you think that you would be able to see these things? These microfluidic pumps. And they go into greater detail about the various forces: electrostatic force, hydrodynamic force. Let's see. Anything other than that in here that I can cling to? Yeah, it's basically what I was going to aim people towards, which is drug delivery. So you can have a micro pump that does insulin or even painkillers if you are in a situation where you need a steady flow of painkillers or other drugs. Then you can get a microfluidic pump. Could be interesting. Let's see. Although Snezko explained that the memory of the particle vortices could not work as a computer memory, he said that the reversals of the system could be useful for materials that work on a toggle system like microfluidic pumps. Interesting. Go over to phys.org and check it out. It's easy enough. Just click on the link at ohmTown in the description wherever you found this video or podcast, or if you're in my chat, go and check it out. The next article in the Word in Tech is where an article was funneled, earliest evidence of ear surgery 5,300 years ago. Something that I tell people regularly is that you really just can't get away from tech. Tech and society are intimately tied together. You'll never get away from tech. Even if you think that you're going to live out in the woods, you are actually still using tech. Tech allows you to build shelter. Tech allows you to get food. Tech allows you to survive in places that are inhospitable to you as a human being. So you've always got tech of some kind. Just become one with it. Understand that that's the way that the world works. Well, this says a team of several researchers from the University of Valladolid in Spain, and one from Spanish National Research Council in Italy, has found evidence of the earliest ear surgery performed on a human being. Apparently it's 5,300 years ago. So this link actually has it's from Bob Yurka at phys.org. And it has a couple of pictures of a very old skull. I would assume is the 5,300-year-old skull. It says Dolmen of El Pendones is a dig site near Burgos, Spain. Prior research has shown that the site was once used by early people as a funerary chamber. Prior research has also shown that the site was used for approximately 800 years between 3,800 and 3,000 BC. In the summer of 2018, a skull was found at the site and was put into storage. Researchers apparently took another look at it, and they found a type of cranial surgery meant to cure an ear ailment, not an ailment, an ear ailment. And that the evidence was that it was a patient, woman between ages 35 and 50, and had survived the surgery at least for a few months because there was evidence of bone regrowth in the holes that had been bored through her skull. I don't want anybody drilling into my skull now, let alone 5,300 years ago. The procedure known today as a mastoidectomy is done to clean out the area behind the ear that has become infected. Failure to correct the problem can lead to deafness in some cases or progressive infections leading to more serious problems, including death. And apparently the procedure was done on both ears. Fascinating. If you want to know more about it, go over to phys.org. Click on that link right there. If you leave and come back, great. If you leave and don't come back, I'll feel bad, but you got to do what you got to do. The next article is everything you need to create a character in Elden Ring, which drops tomorrow. This article was thrown into the Warcrafters channel. It's about gaming and goes into some detail. There's really too much of a snippet for me to be happy with this. So in the future, this will be modified so that it doesn't have so much of the content from the source. But it says the Elden Ring character creation process is comprehensive to say the least. Sure, you can choose the standard archetypes if you just want to get playing, but you could be staring at this person for the next 100 hours, so it's worth taking your time. You may not be interested in tweaking eyelashes and scars, but character creation has always been one of the best roleplay elements in the Souls games. Pretty much any game. And the closer you get to Korean MMOs, man, I just love games like Arcage and Lost Ark. Maybe everything that has Ark in it. I'm not sure. Anyway, yeah, I really like the creation of characters, and I would probably use that kind of a thing, that character creation, really minuscule changes that just allow you to shape and tweak every aspect of your character. I would love to do that just for my D&D characters. Make my character in that type of an interface. In fact, I'd probably buy a Steam app if it had nothing but that. Just creating a very complex, high detail character for my Dungeons and Dragons games. I would just create characters and NPCs. I don't even play anymore. I just think that it's absolutely fun. Anyway, let's click this link and take you over to PC Gamer, where Sarah James and Sean Martin write an article that has a subtitle of From Keepsakes to Origins, Here's How to Create Your Elden Ring Character. Again, this is dropping tomorrow, and the embargo for talking about it is apparently off as of 10 a.m. this morning. I've already read one article about somebody who played it for 90 hours before finishing the main story. And it continues on because Elden Ring is an open world. No real base building, but it's character building. It says returning Souls players will be able, my goodness, returning Souls players will be happy to hear that the infamous similar face button still exists and lets you distort your character's likeness in unsettling ways. And that you can also choose a starting gift called a keepsake to level the playing field. Oof. How does that play out in the charisma stat? If there is a charisma stat. I haven't looked at this game too much other than the videos that I have seen in that one story. I'll probably be watching it get played on Twitch quite a bit tomorrow, starting at about 10 o'clock. But if you want to know more about it, click that link, go over to pcgamer.com, and they'll walk you through the character creation process, like classes, keepsakes. They've got videos, and you can't go wrong with pcgamer.com. The next article is in the Band of Bezel channel. It's about watches, by the way. So it says Tissot enlarges its C-Star 2000 professional collection with cool new colors. So the C-Star, I'll click the link just to take you there really quick, but Tissot's answer to the need for an instrument dive watch. And there you go. I always think of these as renders. They just don't look real to me. But then again, maybe it's really fantastic photography. This article is written by Bryce Gouillard, I think it is. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, please let me know. Anyway, the C-Star 2000 Professional watch that they reviewed apparently in the past has been updated. It is a dive watch, which basically means that it's big. And it has a bezel that rotates so that you can set what amounts to a time. In short, everything you expect. After the initial models of 2021, the brand new updates the collection with 2 new Powermatic 80 models. One with gold touches, one that's black and blue, Abyssal. There you go. Looks pretty neat. Really neat band. It's kind of a weave pattern. Not casual looking 200-meter watch for the weekend here, but a watch made for the abysses. Okay. There's a helium valve on one side and water resistance is rated at 600 meters or 2,000 feet. And if you're wearing this at 2,000 feet, you probably don't need a dive watch. It features a black polished ceramic insert with an engraved 60-minute scale, and the watch complies with the stringent ISO 6425 standard for dive watches. Pretty neat that you can see the inner workings, a couple of crystals, and kind of the beginning of the balance in the train of gears. So The pictures still remind me of renders, so I'll leave that alone. So what do you think this will all cost you? €1,000. So €1,000 and you'll get a pretty neat, but to me, I mean, it's a beautiful watch, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of a standard dive watch kind of thing. But I dig the face, and I dig the bezel, and it's industrial but still stylish. So pretty watch. Okay, this next article, I clicked on simply because I joke about this kind of on the regular. Everybody's in telework mode, so pants are optional. Yes, I'm wearing them now, but lawyer arrested after refusing to wear pants in bar. Why, yes, this is about Florida. It's not a great career move, but let's keep it in perspective. So this article is over at Above the Law, written by Joe Patrice. Has a very funny picture of what appears to be a topless woman covering her mouth like, oops. It's kind of funny. Anyway, according to authorities, Florida attorney Kelly Elkins arrived at Beach Lounge and Billiards in St. Petersburg, Florida, intoxicated to the point the manager refused to serve her. Faced with this speed bump, Elkins allegedly walked into the restroom and then came back out into the bar unclothed and completely naked, which, that's the quote, by the way. Walked into the restroom and then came back out into the bar unclothed and completely naked. That's kind of how it works. Is this a problem in Florida? Whatever happened to hashtag freedom in the sunshine state? Wow, that's hard. And when you think about it, aren't clothes just masks for the body? Okay, Joe. Very funny. Said she was too tired to do so, summing up the past 2 years of Zoom-based legal practice. All right. Well, you go, Kelly. If you want to read more about this, go on over to Above the Law or click the link in the chat. Of course, I'll keep reminding you. That said, this person is probably going to have an interesting ethics review board meeting on Monday. I don't know when they're going to be talked to, but they'll be talked to because that type of stuff doesn't float well. The next article is in the Mobile Channel. 45% of New Yorkers say mask mandate should remain. There is a poll from Siena, I think it is, College Research Institute, released on Tuesday, found that a plurality of New Yorkers said the state's mask mandate should stay in place. What do you think? We're on the waning edges of Omicron and probably the virus because a plurality of people, at least in the United States and in other countries, I think France is somewhere in the 95% range of vaccinated. Here in the States, we're not that close. But this is an article over at The Hill. Let me see where the author is on this one because I don't see it yet. Yeah, I don't see it. There it is. Monica Beals. I keep for Monique Beals. Monique Beals. Pardon me. So what do you think? Should the mask stay? I don't know. I'll probably be wearing it out in public until I feel more secure that I'm not going to end up with coronavirus. You know, you never know. The people that are around you might be immunocompromised and you get them sick. Not really the social animal type of action to take. Right? Well, anyway, when asked about the state's public Indoor masking requirements, 45% of those surveyed said the mandate should remain in place, while 31% they wouldn't have wanted it to end earlier than it did. 20% of the respondents said that they thought the mandate ended at the right time. Yeah, well, now it can be a choice. Whoa, 1 second while I play catch up with something. The next article is in the Mobile channel. What does the future of the global supply chain look like? Do you have any concerns about it? Because right now everything is basically stuck. In transit, supply chains around the world have experienced unprecedented disruption over the last year due to COVID. As leaders raced to order medical supplies to care for their country's sick, global demand shifted drastically, creating emergency shortages that affected the many industries and nearly paralyzed overseas trade. This article is over at phys.org, written by Tanner Stenning at Northeastern University. It says, but the pandemic hasn't been the only supply chain disruption in recent years, nor are medical supplies the only product that has felt the squeeze. Yeah, we know this. The rise of e-commerce. There is no rise of e-commerce. It's always been there. It's just been required more because of the pandemic. The digitalization of industry, that too. People are finally seeing the economic and societal benefit of e-commerce and digitalization. The next thing that's going to come to many countries is automation, which means that jobs are going to go away if it makes economic sense to replace humans with robots. And that's when we're going to really see a push for machine learning and artificial intelligence. As a result, companies that buy and sell goods have had to find ways of adapting to the ever-changing conditions in order to stay in business. Let's see here. Spencer Fung, who runs a 116-year-old family business, Lee and Fung, a Hong Kong-based supply chain management operation that serves 1 billion people around the world. Company helps global retailers design, develop, and source materials for their products, then coordinates how those products will move around the world. Amazing. I wonder if Apple has ever interacted with them. Apple is kind of the preeminent supply chain retail tech company with margins somewhere between 30 and 60%, depending on the product. They've got their supply chain down and they're still being hit by this. So I wonder what the future is really going to hold. Now we've got conflicts in the area of some of our major manufacturing places, China in particular. So it says here, the trend really began in early 1970s, Fung says, but picked up in the beginning of this century. From roughly 2005 to 2018, companies around the world moved their manufacturing factories primarily to China. There you go. I've already mentioned in previous episodes, the United States will have to bring back manufacturing. We are now brushing up against suppliers that are at odds. And really, something's got to give. We'll see what actually happens. I don't think that our current trend of inflation, higher interest rates, which basically a reflection of inflation, increased costs, constrained manufacturing, all of this cannot be, and it is not. I don't believe. I don't see it as a function of COVID. I see it as a function of companies basically squeezing profit and manufacturing, if there is an issue, not switching to automated systems for many of the things because it's perceived as being cheaper to use human capital to do it, but they are sick. So that might be the pandemic, but they're not hiring, but they're still making record profits. There's more going on than meets the eye. Obviously, I don't have all of the data. But that's why I talk to people about it. So if you are interested in this kind of thing, what's going on? Let's talk about it. Ask some questions. Look around, do some due diligence. I've done some, and to me, it seems like you can't have constrained supplies, low production, low sales, yet record profits. And that's what we're seeing, record profits. So the next article is thrown into Mobile. Being near pollinator habitat linked to larger soybean size. Researchers at North Carolina State University have found that soybean crops planted near pollinator habitat produce larger soybeans than soybean crops that are not planted near pollinator habitat. So we'll go over to phys.org again. Matt Shipman from North Carolina State University says even though soybeans are not thought of as being dependent on pollinators, we found that soybean plants are still attractive to bees. Says Hannah Levinson, a postdoctoral research scholar at NC State and corresponding author of a paper on the work. And we found that the presence of pollinators was associated with larger soybeans. So interesting. There's been a lot of work on how planting pollinator habitat near crops can affect crops that are considered pollinator dependent, such as blueberries and strawberries. But there's been relatively little work on crops that aren't considered pollinator dependent. So why does the pollinator... That's interesting. I wonder why, though. Why does a crop become pollinator dependent if they're close? Why does the crop end up bigger? Yeah, I mean, shouldn't it just be pollinated or not? I guess it's a timing thing. Let's see here. At each station, the researchers evaluated 2 soybean fields, one that was adjacent to an established area of pollinator habitat and one that was far away, generally just under a kilometer. Let's see. The pollinator habitat was created by planting wildflowers. Let's see. First, they surveyed bee communities in both soybean fields and the pollinator habitat at each research station. The surveys consisted of a detailed visual assessment. So I'm going to scroll really fast and see if I can get to the results. Our findings are very, very applicable to soybean growers across the Southeast. It's not clear to the extent which findings would apply here. That's an interesting area of future study. So it says, we found that the number of seeds was similar for fields near pollinator habitat and fields that were far away. However, plants in fields that were adjacent to pollinator habitat produced seeds that were 6.5% heavier than the seeds from plants in distant fields. I wonder. So they don't necessarily know why. This suggests that having pollinator habitat nearby is beneficial to bees in the soybean fields. So, I don't know. Maybe I have no idea. I'll have to look more into it and see. So I won't read the whole article. Again, I urge you to go over to phys.org, click that link that's in the chat or wherever you find this video or podcast. The next article is in the Continuity Report. Continuity Report is all about movies. And this one is what programming execs from NBCU, MGM, A&E, and more are looking for in the next generation of TV creators. The snippet is, when peak TV is still getting peakier, it's harder than ever to find for a series to really break through with audiences. And that means it's even harder for a new writer to get their project noticed with the studio executives who are sifting through pitches looking for the next show that will break through with audiences. This article is over at is over at variety.com. Jennifer Moss is the author. I'm going to pause the video. And they go into some discussion about what everybody is looking for, apparently. And it says the panel, which was hosted by Variety's TV business writer Jennifer Moss, included Joanne Alfano, Executive Vice President of Scripted Current Series and Head of International Business Development at Universal Studio Group, and several others. Let's see, you're walking into a period of time where there are so many options, especially because of streaming and the opportunities to introduce yourself into the business because of social media. 25-year-olds are influencers with great jobs. Let's see, you should be thinking about what are the questions you have about not just what the person you are immediately next to is doing, but how do they fit into the bigger picture? Going along with that idea of being flexible and finding out what else could be out there that you may not have thought of, that might be a great way for you to apply your skills or a great way for you to experience or learn something new. You're going to have to go over to this article and read it more. It says Russ, who works at Bosch producer Fable, also encourages having an understanding of how the larger industry works, primarily by developing your tastes. It's really tough to understand how the industry works. This is me talking, not the article. It's tough to understand how the industry works when you can't get into the industry. It's very difficult. You have to go to kind of destination locations, New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, maybe others, but I don't know of all of them, obviously. But it's hard to get seen. And a lot of social media and your article, your writing going viral helps tremendously. The only problem really is somebody can take your idea and run with it. And if they're connected, then it can explode. But Reddit has writing prompts. It is a subreddit. And you can get ideas there. You can post your writing there and people take notice of really good writing. Nowadays, you need to go viral. So this next article is The Word in Tech. A UK firm warned of Russian cyber war spillover from Ukraine. Meetings held on threat posed, particularly to critical infrastructure and how it could be tackled. So this article obviously has to do with the Russian-Ukraine situation. When we click this link, we'll take a gander at it over at The Guardian. It actually has live updates. It's written by Dan Sabah, Defense and Security Editor. There's quite a bit of, well, to make it easy to grasp, there is constant cyber conflict taking place. Even if it isn't a directly constructed state actor, there are people with economic, political, and other influences that are acting on behalf of a cause, either their own or the national cause, whatever it might be. And they are hacking regularly, 24 hours a day, in fact. There is no single source of knowing what all the threats are, but if you're in the industry, then there's a bunch of locations that you can aggregate together to find out. Because there's so many cybersecurity technology providers that have some publicly accessible telemetry. But cybersecurity is rather arcane to many people. That said, every country has somewhat of a public facing, or I should say, a location or locations where vectors of attack can be concentrated. All it takes is some due diligence and you can find them. Countries have IP addresses, and it's fairly easy to scan the entirety of the internet. It takes a lot of time, but when your whole objective is trying to break into Russia or break into Ukraine or break into the United States, you basically look for various industry leaders, I guess, and other things, businesses, government agencies, etc., and you just go mining. I don't recommend it. Any unauthorized access is already a crime. So if you get caught, you are going to be in serious trouble in the United States. It's very easy to get caught in the United States. Not so easy if you're attacking the United States from overseas. Really depends on what the local police think of the United States at the time when you get caught. If you're really good, you might be black-sided, just kind of disappeared from a country. Does it happen? Yep. Ukraine has been the target for regular Russian cyber attacks since the start of the war in 2014, and last week was hit with a sophisticated attack that tried to disrupt customer services at 2 Ukrainian banks and the website of the Defense Ministry. And there you have it. If I take down all of the banks, then nobody can take their money out of the system except by walking into a bank and getting cash. And that takes time, and there's limited cash on hand. So if the bank's electronics are down, they still can't take money out of the bank without just doing it by paper. Then it gets really slow, very wonky. And good luck with all of that. Anyway, you're going to have to go over to The Guardian, and, well, you can click that link in my chat. The next article is in the Warcrafters channel. RimWorld meets Banished in this blandly named city builder. That's what the author calls it. Settlement Survival. As a game that sounds like the devs forgot to update the initial placeholder name, Settlement Survival might easily be overlooked by discerning city builders. By the way, it's a fun game. So we'll click that link and take you over to PC Gamer. Katie Wickens is the author. It says, Settlement Survival might sound like a working title, but it's on the way to becoming one of my top colony sims. It actually is a lot of fun to play. So I've got this and I play it. Not really regularly because I'm doing too many other things, but I've played it and it's a lot of fun. It says, currently there are a few difficulty levels, and each game starts with a random seed, and there are a couple of themes to choose from before you enter the game. Essentially, these are the game's modes or scenarios. So they'll go into greater detail in this article, but if you are interested in an isometric city builder, I think that you'll enjoy Settlement Survival. And I believe Katie Wickens is already going to reinforce that. But definitely click that link and go over there and read more about it. The next article is Astronomers Map Mysterious Element in Space. Ooh. I almost feel like I'm in Star Trek. A research team led by Lund University in Sweden, it might be Lund, has provided an important clue to the origin of the element Ytterbium in the Milky Way by showing that the element largely originates from supernova explosions. Now, to me, that's groundbreaking, and it says so in the article. Go over to phys.org and you'll be able to read more about it. But it says, I think it's pronounced Ytterbium, is one of the 4 elements in the periodic table named after Ytterby, a mine in the Stockholm archipelago. The element was first discovered in the black mineral gadolinite, which was first identified in the Ytterby mine in 1787. Ytterbium is interesting because it may have 2 different cosmic origins. Researchers believe that one half comes from heavy stars with short lives, while the other comes from more regular stars, much like the sun, and that they create Ytterbium in the final stages of their relatively long lives. Interesting. By examining high-quality spectra of about 30 stars in the sun's vicinity, the researchers were able to provide important experimental support for the theory of the cosmic origin of ytterbium. It seems that ytterbium largely originates from supernova explosions, and then I guess ends up, buried in a mine right outside Stockholm. Got it. Interesting article. Go and check it out. The next article is over at the Mobile channel, and detailed images of a shockwave that extends for 6.5 million light years. An international team of astronomers led by the Hamburg Observatory made the most detailed images of the largest cosmic shock waves ever observed. The observations are based on the data from the Meerkat radio telescope in South Africa and have been published in the journal Astronomy and Astrophysics. Let's click that link. Takes you over to phys.org. University of Hamburg wrote the article. Probably not the entirety of the university, but a group of people. Galaxies are not evenly distributed across the universe, this article says, but gather in so-called galaxy clusters, which are held together by gravity. So this is an image. The image, I guess it's a simulation, a cosmic shock wave. It kind of looks like a nebula. I wonder if they've got something that kind of reveals it more. Nope, they don't. One of the key research areas at the Hamburg Observatory is the study of galaxy clusters. The cluster Abell 3667 can be observed particularly well with the Meerkat radio telescope in the southern hemisphere because it's comparatively close to Earth. At that time, the shock waves propagated at 1,500 kilometers per second and were about 60 times the size of our Milky Way. There's some more over there at the phys.org site, so go check it out. The next article is in the continuity report. Spotify's first bookcast excerpts Dolly Parton, James Patterson's novel Run, Rose, Run. And it says Spotify will premiere an exclusive serialized podcast for Run, Rose, Run, the forthcoming novel by Dolly Parton and James Patterson, with excerpts blended with Parton's original soundtrack for the book. And the first 2 episodes debuted on February 23rd on Spotify. And this article is at variety.com and is written by Todd Spangler. You'll have to go over there so that you can listen to this, but there is a link that will take you over to Spotify, with an additional 10 episodes running 4 to 7 minutes each to follow. So not quite a huge soundtrack, I suppose. I mean, if that's the limit of just the soundtrack. If it's actually a podcast that's only 4 to 7 minutes, I don't know what's going on. It says on March 7th, the novel will be released simultaneously with the final 6 episodes of the Spotify Bookcast series, and that it's set in Nashville, centers on an aspiring female artist who comes to country music's capital to pursue her music-making dreams. Well, you write what you know. And sounds good. So give it a shot. Go over to Spotify and check it out. This next article involves Kanye. And I chose this because earlier today, I think it was, maybe it was last night, I saw a small snippet of what happened with his Donda 2 event. And at some point, he just throws his microphone, and you can hear it clear as day, just bouncing across the puddle that he's walking around in. But for all intents and purposes, people are complaining about the quality of the event's audio, although it had great production value for the small segment that I saw. A lot of people are saying that they really didn't enjoy the stream. So this article is over at variety.com. And it says Kanye West Donda event features Jack Harlow, Marilyn Manson, Playboy Cardi, Alicia Keys, and a Kim Kardashian sample. This article is written by Chris Willman over at variety.com. You can go over there and check it out. But it says, which was ultimately the Donda 2 event at Miami's Lone Depot Park, which was ultimately streamed and remains available on YouTube, despite West's earlier assurances that it wouldn't be, had the performer pacing around a full-size replication of his Chicago childhood home, a la the last listening party for his previous Donda album last year. This time he was surrounded by a lake of 2 or 3 inches of water laid out across the Lone Depot field. So you can go over and read the rest of this article, and obviously you can go over to YouTube and watch the event as it was apparently published there. I have not seen the rest of it. And finally, the last article that we're going to cover today is the official Steam Deck dock won't be available at launch. It says Valve hasn't shared many details about the dock just yet. The first orders of the Steam Deck, Valve's handheld gaming PC, will begin on Friday, but the company's official dock for the device won't be available at that time. So I'm going to click on the link and take you over there. Not sure what the dock is going to look like. It says that the dock will launch in late spring. Let's scroll down here. We are also looking forward to getting the official dock for Steam Deck into customers' hands, Valve said in a post about the Steam Deck's launch day. It won't be happening as early as we wanted, but we're excited to talk more about it soon and planning to make them available in late spring. I feel like everything is constrained to just an astonishing level. There are some things that I can still get, probably because they're in mass quantities sitting in Amazon's warehouse somewhere, HDMI cables, for instance. But everything else that's being produced is taking a tremendous amount of time. I've got something on order right now that I'm being told isn't going to make it to me for 6 months. And it's not something that is just kind of flippant, it's not something that I can't have. I must have it in a certain time frame. And this is really pushing the window. 6 months I'm going to have to wait. I just don't know if I'm going to get it in time. So we will see what's going to happen. But this is just a dock. You would think that it would be easier to get what amounts to a connector that relays information from one point to another, that provides power. I mean, this isn't necessarily, at first blush, anything more than a simple laptop dock. I don't think that there's going to be anything spectacular inside this dock. Yet it's not being produced, and this is a known quantity, and it has to be because of supply chain. I mean, Valve has the money to make this thing happen fast, but maybe just can't make it happen. I don't know. Whoever the project lead is for this, if there is a product leader that's in charge of this and wants to talk to me, that would be great. This article, by the way, is over at The Verge and was written by Jay Peters. The official Steam Deck dock won't be available at launch. Ta-da! And that's the last article that we'll be talking about today here at the Daily News show at ohmTown. So what do you think? I hope you got something out of this. I hope you enjoyed the show. I want to thank you all for coming, either in the VOD or the podcast or on YouTube, or here in my chat. And if you have questions or comments, feel free to throw them in chat or get in touch with me in any way. I am imminently available. And again, thank you very much for coming. I will see you tomorrow, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. for another eclectic array of news. Bye-bye.